Deep under the planet's surface, something stirs. In the pitch black, a soft cry echoes, frightened, weak, and barely alive. But no one is supposed to be down there. Darkness. That was the first thing she felt. There was no light, no sound, only the heavy pressure of cold air around her. Her body was lying on something hard. She tried to move, but her arms felt too weak. She couldn't remember who she was. She couldn't remember why she was here. Only one thing was clear: she wasn't alone. Something inside her was moving. Not near her, but inside. She touched her stomach and felt a small kick. That's when fear came. She was pregnant. But how? She didn't remember anyone. Not a face, not a name, not even her own. Just a blank space in her mind, and a strange feeling in her chest, like someone was missing. Her body was shaking, not just from the cold, but from something deeper, something she didn't understand. The walls around her felt like stone, wet and rough. She tried to call out, but her voice was weak. It echoed around her and came back. Empty. No answer. Just silence. She closed her eyes and focused. Her people had a way of sending out messages, not with words, but with thoughts. It was like a soft push into the air, a call for help from the heart. She sent it out, again and again. Please, someone, anyone. But no one answered. Far away, in the deep black of space, a human named Eli sat alone on a small ship. He wasn't a soldier or a captain, just an engineer. He worked on broken ships, helped fix machines, and liked quiet. But that night, as he checked the ship's systems, he heard something strange, not with his ears but in his mind. A soft voice, a whisper. It said, "Help me." He stood still, thinking he was just tired. But then it came again. "Please, someone." Eli looked around. No one else was on his ship. He checked the radio. Nothing. Still, the voice was real soft, scared, and calling from somewhere far away. He didn't tell anyone at first. They would laugh. They'd say he was dreaming. But each night, the voice came back, and each time it grew weaker. He started seeing pieces of something in his dreams. A girl, alone in a dark place, her eyes glowing softly, her hands shaking, walls with symbols carved into them, and always the same feeling. She's running out of time. Eli couldn't sleep anymore. He pulled up old star maps and searched for anything that matched what he saw. There were thousands of planets, moons, and rocks, but one stood out. It was a planet once used by explorers long ago, cold, empty, and forgotten. The record said it had been shut down after a mining accident. No one had returned in over 100 years. But as he looked at the picture of the planet, he felt something strange. The voice in his mind grew clearer. It was like the planet was calling to him. He made his decision. Even though he didn't have orders to leave, even though his ship wasn't made for deep travel, he started the engines and turned toward the old planet. He didn't know what he would find. He didn't know if it was real, but he believed the voice. He believed someone was down there. Back underground, the girl was getting weaker. Her stomach hurt more each hour. She hadn't eaten. She hadn't moved. Time didn't feel real anymore. The only thing keeping her awake was the small movement inside her. She tried to stay calm. She kept sending her message, hoping someone out there could hear her. Her kind used to say that thoughts could travel through space if they were strong enough. She didn't know if it was true, but it was all she had left. Then, for the first time, she felt something different, a small warmth in her mind. Someone had heard her. She didn't know who. She didn't know where they were, but the connection was there, weak, like a candle in the wind. Still, it gave her hope. She whispered into the darkness, even though her voice barely made a sound. "I'm here." And far across the stars, Eli whispered back, without knowing why, "I'm coming." The stars outside stayed silent, but something had changed. Two lives had found each other in the middle of nowhere. One lost in the dark, the other searching for something he couldn't explain. But both of them felt the same truth. This was just the beginning. Eli didn't understand why he felt the voice so clearly now. It wasn't just a whisper in his mind anymore. It was like a thread, gently pulling him forward. Every hour, it became stronger. It wasn't loud, but it was always there, like the quiet beat of a heart. He couldn't explain this to anyone. The people he worked with believed in tools, maps, numbers, not feelings. But this wasn't just a feeling. It was real, and it wasn't going away. He sat in the pilot's seat, looking at the strange planet on the screen. It didn't have a name anymore, just a long code of numbers and letters. Once, many years ago, people had landed there. The old records said it was safe. Cold, but safe. Then suddenly, without warning, it was marked as closed. No reason given. Just one line in the log. No further missions allowed. Eli leaned closer. That was the kind of sentence that made people curious. But no one had ever asked about it. Again, planets were forgotten fast in this part of space, but not by her. The voice came again. This time it wasn't just calling, it was guiding. She was weak, but she could still feel him. Somewhere above, beyond the sky, someone had heard her. Someone different, not her kind, not the ones who put her here. This one was warmer, quieter, like light touching water. She didn't know his name. She didn't even know if he was real, but she knew one thing: he wasn't afraid. And he was getting closer. The air underground was heavy. Breathing was harder now. She sat near a wall, tracing the symbols with her fingers. The strange marks didn't make sense to her anymore, but they felt familiar. She thought maybe she once knew what they meant. Maybe they were hers. The baby inside her moved again. Not strong, not painful, just slow, gentle shifts. She closed her eyes and whispered something soft. It wasn't a name, she had none to give. Just a sound of comfort, like a melody only she remembered. Above, the stars looked peaceful. Eli's ship moved quietly through space. He checked the controls. Fuel was enough. Oxygen good. But the connection in his head, that was something he couldn't measure. He began recording his journey, just in case. His voice was calm but unsure. Log. Entry. Day 1. I'm on a personal course to a planet outside mission range. Reason. Unknown signal. Or maybe not a signal. It's hard to explain. It's like someone's asking for help. I can feel it. I'm not sure who she is, or even if she's real, but I can't ignore it. He paused, looking out the window. The stars passed slowly. She's afraid. I don't know how I know that, but I do. The next morning, if there were mornings in space, he woke up with something new in his mind. A picture, a stone hallway, a glowing mark on a wall, and her eyes, soft, tired, but still full of something strong, something that had not given up. The picture faded, but the feeling stayed. He reached the planet's orbit later that day. The surface was gray and cracked, like an old wound. There were no cities, no lights, no sign of life, just silence. But the pull in his chest was stronger than ever. As he lowered the ship, clouds of dust rose from the ground. The landing was smooth, but the moment he stepped outside, he felt the quiet was deeper here. Not peaceful, but forgotten, like something had once lived here, and then left in a hurry. He walked slowly, holding a scanner in one hand, looking for any signal. Nothing at first, just rocks and dust. But then, the scanner blinked. A weak pulse. Below the surface he stopped. There was no building in sight, no hatch, no ladder, just open land. But his gut told him she was down there. He sat on a stone and took a breath. I'm here, he whispered. Can you hear me? Far below, her eyes opened. Just for a second, a small breath escaped her lips. The connection returned clearer, calmer, real. She whispered back, though she didn't know if he could hear it. I knew you would come to lives. 2 paths, one silent thread connecting them through the dark. And though they hadn't met, something between them had already begun to change. The quiet was no longer empty. It was waiting. Asterisk, the sky above the planet was always gray. No sun could be seen, and no stars ever showed. Just a heavy layer of clouds, like the world didn't want to be seen. Eli stood outside his ship, staring at the land in front of him. It was flat, quiet, and endless. Yet deep inside, he felt certain she was underneath this silence. The scanner in his hand blinked softly. It showed a weak signal coming from beneath. The surface, the numbers were small, but steady. There was something below. Maybe a room, maybe a tunnel, maybe her. He walked slowly, each step careful. The ground felt strange, like metal and stone mixed together, but covered in years of dust and time. After walking for a while, he saw something unusual. A smooth circle on the ground, about the size of a doorway, but flat and sealed. He knelt beside it and brushed off the dust. Symbols were carved around the edge, old, worn, but not natural. Someone had made this long ago. His hand touched the surface, cold. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, his scanner blinked faster. The signal was stronger here. Eli stepped back and opened his backpack. He took out a small tool and began to gently test the edge. The circle didn't open, but it made a soft sound, a low hum, like a sleeping machine being touched for the first time in years. Somewhere far below, the girl's eyes opened again. She didn't know why, but warmth touched her skin. A breath, a change. She felt movement not from herself, but from the world around her. Something had shifted. Something was waking up. She touched her stomach again. The child was quiet now, almost listening, like it felt the change above. She tried to sit up. Her body was weak, but she leaned on the stone wall and slowly moved. The symbols on the wall beside her began to glow faintly. Not bright, just soft, light like moonlight touching water. She looked at her hand. It glowed, too, just a little. Her voice was quiet, dry, but still there. "You're close." Eli stepped back from the stone circle as it made a soft click. A small line opened across its surface, and air hissed out slowly. Dust swirled around him. Then the stone slid aside, revealing a narrow stairway, leading down into complete darkness. He turned on a small light on his jacket and looked inside. The steps were old, covered in moss and age. The walls were smooth metal and stone, shaped long ago by hands he didn't recognize. Still, he wasn't afraid. He took one step down, then another. The air grew colder. The light behind him faded, swallowed by the tunnel dot. With each step, he felt the connection growing stronger. The voice in his mind was silent now, but the feeling remained. Not like a sound, but like a rhythm, like someone breathing, like someone waiting. He reached the bottom after many steps. The room opened in front of him, round, high, and silent. Strange machines stood at the edges, long dead. Symbols lined the walls, glowing softly the moment his light touched them. He whispered, "Where are you?" The scanner blinked again. Beneath his feet, the girl heard his voice, not with her ears, but inside her thoughts. The sound was small but real. She reached out, not with her hands, but with her thoughts, touching the thread that joined them. He felt it too. He followed the scanner's signal to a hidden door at the back of the room. It was covered in thick stone, but the scanner showed space behind it. He placed his hand on the center. The stone was cold, but then it changed. A soft warmth moved through it, like the wall itself had heard her call. The door began to open. Inside was another tunnel, curving down even deeper into the planet. He stepped through, and the door closed silently behind him. For a moment, everything was still. Then, ahead of him, he saw something that didn't match anything from his world. A hallway filled with lightless glass, pulsing with soft energy. As he walked through it, he felt small tremors in the floor, like something far away had moved. She was close, but so was something else. Not a person, not a sound, just a presence, distant, calm, and very old. Eli didn't stop. He kept walking, because somewhere ahead, someone was waiting in the dark, and he was the only one who had answered. The tunnel seemed to stretch forever. Eli kept walking, step by step, guided only by the soft light from his jacket and the quiet signal coming from his scanner. The walls beside him were smooth like glass, but dark like night. Some parts of them flickered with color, not like lights but like memories moving, images that disappeared as soon as he looked closer. He didn't know how deep underground he was now. The ship above felt far away, like it belonged to another world. Here, the air was different, thin, cold, but not lifeless. It carried a feeling, like someone had once walked these halls. Someone important. The scanner blinked again, stronger. She was near, but something else had changed. The silence had a new tone, like a hum, very low and steady, as if the place had been asleep and was slowly waking up. Eli stopped for a moment and placed his hand on the wall. It was warm. Then he saw something ahead. A door, wide and tall, shaped like a half circle, stood at the end of the tunnel. Around it were more symbols, glowing soft blue, like stars floating in water. The scanner beeped again and then went quiet. This was it. He stepped forward and placed his hand on the center of the door. Nothing happened at first. Then, a light traveled from his palm into the stone. It moved across the symbols, lighting each one. A soft breath of air escaped through a line at the edge. The door slowly opened, not with sound, but with stillness, like it was never meant to be forced. Only invited. Inside was a large, quiet chamber. It felt like a sacred place. At the center of the room, surrounded by curved walls and old machines, was a small resting space. And lying there, with her back against the wall and her eyes half open, was the alien girl. She was real. Her skin was pale silver, glowing slightly in the dark. Her hair was long and soft, spread around her like threads of light. Her arms were wrapped gently around her stomach, where life quietly moved inside her. Her eyes slowly opened, and for a moment, the two of them just looked at each other. She didn't speak with her mouth. She didn't need to. Her voice came through. The connection they both now felt clearly. You came. Eli took a step closer, his voice quiet. I heard you. She gave a tired smile. I was afraid no one would. He sat near her, not touching anything, just listening. He looked around the room. The machines were shaped unlike anything he had seen before. Their design was smooth and peaceful, more like art than tools. Where are we? He asked gently. Her eyes closed for a moment, as if reaching into memories that didn't want to return. This was once a safe place, a place of knowledge. But something changed. They used it for something else. I was brought here, not by choice. Eli didn't ask more. Not yet. She opened her eyes again. I don't remember everything, but I remember waking up here, alone, and then knowing I was not alone anymore. She looked down at her stomach, and her hand rested gently there. I carry something, not just of my kind, something they made. I don't know what it will become. Eli felt the air shift again, gently, like the chamber itself was listening. Didn't choose this, she whispered, but I choose to protect it. Eli nodded. And I'll help you. She looked at him again. Her voice entered his mind once more, soft and sure. You are not like the others. I don't know what I am, he answered, but I heard you, and I couldn't ignore that. For the first time in many days, she felt peace. Not full, but enough. But outside the chamber, the hum in the air grew deeper. Somewhere beyond the tunnel something stirred. Not fast, not loud, but awake. But awake. Eli stood, looking toward the door. He didn't know what else was down here, but the way back might not be as quiet as the way in. Still, he looked at her and saw something in her eyes, something unbroken. The connection between them had become more than sound. It had become trust. And trust, in the deep dark of forgotten places, was a light of its own. The chamber felt still, but the stillness wasn't empty. It was the kind of quiet that holds questions. Eli sat beside the alien girl, watching the soft glow of her skin. She was resting again, her head gently leaning back against the wall. The air around them was warmer now. The strange hum they both felt earlier had faded slightly, but not completely. It was as if the place was holding its breath. She opened her eyes slowly. He noticed how tired she looked, not just in her face, but deep inside. The kind of tired that doesn't come from the body, but from the heart. There's something I need to tell you, she said through the shared connection. Her voice in his mind was calm, but heavy. Eli nodded. I'm listening. She placed her hand on her stomach. Before I woke up here, I was taken from my home. I don't know how. I don't remember the moment it happened, but I remember what came after. She paused. They used this place for something secret. It was once built by my people as a place of learning. We came here to understand life, energy, the world around us, but it was later used for experiments, quiet ones, hidden from the main worlds. Eli didn't interrupt. He kept his focus on her words. They used me for one of those experiments, she continued. Not with machines, not with pain, with something older, something from before records. They mixed my kind with something else, something lost. She looked down again at the life inside her. It moved softly, like a response. I can feel the child, she whispered. It is calm when you are near. Before you came, it moved without pattern. Now it listens, just like I do. Eli didn't know what to say, but inside his mind a question formed. Do you think the child is dangerous? She didn't answer right away. Then, carefully, she replied, I don't know, but I do not fear it. I only fear what others might do if they find out it exists. Eli understood. He had seen many missions, many leaders. Some were kind, others were afraid of anything they couldn't control. That's when he realized this wasn't just about helping her escape. It was about protecting something that others might never accept. He stood up and walked to the edge of the chamber. There, built into the wall, was a strange window. Not glass but something else. It showed no sky, no land. Only soft colors moving in waves, like a dream passing slowly. He spoke quietly. We have to leave this place. She nodded, but her breath was slower now. Her eyes closed again for a moment. I feel something changing, she said. The child is growing quickly. Time feels different here. Maybe the place affects it, or maybe the child is not like us. Eli returned to her side. Do you trust me? Her eyes met his. I do. Then, the hum returned. This time, it was closer. The walls around them vibrated slightly. The machines in the corners of the room flickered with light, as if they too had been listening all this time, and were now preparing for something. Eli checked his scanner. A new signal was appearing, not from the girl, not from the child, from outside, from somewhere higher in the tunnels. Something had been awakened. I think our time here is running short, he said. She tried to sit up slowly. He helped her, without rushing. Every movement was careful, quiet. The room accepted their choice to move. It didn't resist. As they stepped toward the hallway, the soft blue symbols on the wall glowed again, brighter this time, and in new patterns. They didn't look like warnings. They looked like guidance. She reached out and placed her hand against one of the symbols. For a brief second, a picture appeared in the wall, like a memory from long ago. It showed a star map, a small transport pod, and a narrow tunnel leading far away from this chamber. A path. This place remembers, she said softly. It's showing us the way. Eli nodded. Then let's follow it. They stepped into the hallway, side by side, not as strangers anymore, but as something closer. Not just human and alien, not just rescuer and survivor, but two lives walking forward with trust between them, and something new just ahead, and deep inside the tunnels, where time moved differently and old walls still held stories. The unknown continued to listen. The hallway ahead was long, silent, and curved like a spiral. Each step they took was met with a soft glow from the walls, as if the structure itself had been waiting for someone to walk this path again. Eli held her gently as they moved. Her steps were slow, careful, but steady. The child inside her had grown more active, like it sensed the world changing around them. She placed a hand on her stomach from time to time, feeling the soft movements that no longer felt random. They had rhythm, like thought, like purpose. The place is helping us, she said softly. Eli glanced at the glowing lines on the wall. They moved with him, bending and shifting, leading the way forward. It's guiding us somewhere. Somewhere. Safe, she whispered. I hope. Far behind them, a soft echo traveled through the tunnels. Not a footstep, not a voice, just a sound that didn't belong to either of them. A reminder they were not fully alone. Still, the walls showed no fear, only direction. They reached a room that looked different from the others. Smaller, circular. The ceiling had soft lights that turned on without being touched. In the center was a round object shaped like a small pod, smooth and silver, resting inside a frame that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Eli stepped forward and touched the surface. It felt warm. The door to the pod slowly opened, revealing two seats, one slightly larger than the other. She looked at him. This was built for escape. He nodded. And it still works. They stepped inside together. The pod's lights turned on. Soft music began to play, no words, just gentle tones that felt older than language. The doors closed behind them with no sound. The girl leaned back in her seat. She looked tired, but peaceful. It's strange, she said. For so long, I thought I would never leave this place, but now, I feel like something is waiting for me beyond it. Eli sat beside her, checking the controls. The pod recognized him, even though it was not from his world. The system responded with symbols and colors he didn't fully understand, but the path was clear. A tunnel, long and straight, leading up and away from the underground chambers. As the pod lifted gently off the floor, the walls around them shifted. A door opened at the far end of the room, revealing the tunnel ahead. The lights along the walls began to flicker in patterns, as if saying goodbye. Then the pod moved forward. It floated smoothly through the narrow tunnel, the soft hum of energy guiding it forward. Eli watched the screen. The map showed they were climbing upwards slowly but surely. Not much longer, he said. She closed her eyes and listened to the hum, but the moment of peace was short. Suddenly, the pod slowed. Not stopped, but slowed. The lights around them dimmed, just slightly. Eli looked at the controls. No error, no damage. Yet something ahead was changing the path. He looked at her. Do you feel that? She opened her eyes. Her hand rested on her stomach again. Yes, something is near. The pod kept moving, but the tunnel ahead had changed. Through the small window, they could see that the tunnel now curved downward, before rising again. Along the walls were markings, not like before. These looked older, darker. The lights that followed them had stopped, and yet the pod kept going, as if it knew there was no turning back. Eli stayed alert, watching every number, every symbol. But what came next was not something he could prepare for. The tunnel opened into a massive underground space, wider than anything they had seen before. It wasn't a chamber. It was more like a hidden world below the surface. In the center of this space, surrounded by smooth stone and soft mist, stood a tall pillar, and inside it a faint light. The pod slowed and gently came to a stop in front of the pillar. It didn't open the door, but it waited. Eli turned to her. "Do you know what this is?" She shook her head slowly. "No, but the child is responding. I feel it." She placed both hands on her stomach. The soft glow from her skin spread through her fingers, and for a moment, the light inside the pillar responded, glowing brighter. "I think this is part of why we came here," she said. Eli stepped out of the pod first. The ground was soft, covered in something like moss. The air felt light and clear, as if this place had been untouched for hundreds of years. She stepped out slowly, her eyes never leaving the pillar. Together, they approached. As they stood close, the pillar began to shift. It opened not with sound, but with light, and inside was a small crystal, floating gently in the air. The girl reached out and touched it. In that moment, the air around them filled with warmth, and a sound, not a voice, but a memory through their minds, a message from the past, a message meant for the one who carried the child. It said only one thing: "You are not alone."